Hey, everybody, this is Catherine Williams, your local Santa Clarita Realtor, and I'm here today with Kim Woodard, and she is a teacher in the Newhall School District. And since the school year is just getting underway, I thought it would be great if we could have a talk with her and learn more about what she does. So Kim, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Oh yeah, my pleasure. So I was wondering, how long have you been a teacher?
This will be my 32nd year since I started teaching.
32nd? You
89,
started when you were 4 years old? Boy, you hardly
Not
look
exactly,
32.
but right out of college, that was in the era when, in the late 80s, early 90s, when you finished college and there were lots of jobs. And
Mhm.
so it was very exciting for me. I got hired in the school district that I did middle school and high school in. So it was a
Mhm.
lot of fun. Started out as a 6th grade teacher.
Nice. That's interesting because I taught school also, and the last year that I taught school, I taught in the exact classroom that I attended kindergarten in myself in Van Nuys.
Oh, that's fun. I'm at Meadows Elementary now at Newhall, and we have a lot of families who the parents actually went through Meadows and now their
Mhm.
kids are going through. So it's fun. I think it brings a really kind of a special feeling to
Mhm.
campus. People are so invested in it, rooted in it, rooted in the district.
That is so exciting that people are able to send their kids to the exact same school they went to. That's real commitment to the neighborhood.
It is. Yeah. Those neighborhoods they're beautiful neighborhoods that have really, they're lovely. They've held their value and the schools are wonderful in Newhall. And so it's fun to see, I'm relatively new to the area. I've just been here 6 years, but it's neat for me to meet families who have been in this area for generations.
Mhm. That's great. Well, as everybody knows, COVID has been quite a year and there's been a lot of adjustments for the schools. And I was wondering, what kind of changes did you have to make to adapt to the COVID situation this last year?
Oh, goodness. Well, in March of 2020, we found out we were leaving campus on a Friday and we thought we'd be out a couple of weeks. And then that coincided with our spring break. So it was hard to imagine at that time that it could, blow up into something that it did and go on as long as it has. So I would say the changes have been numerous. I mean, basically in every facet of teaching, something has had to change in order for us to be able to connect with the kids in the way that we do and we need to in order to best reach them, but also to help them, in terms of their academic growth. So what we do is so much addresses the whole child, and it's a very different experience when you're behind the screen. So I teach first grade now, and that's what I was teaching in March 2020 when we left. So for me, it was, and for my team and for my colleagues across the district, it meant, first of all, increasing our understanding of how the technology works. We spent countless hours creating lessons that we could deliver in this way. Honestly, just recording lessons. First, we had to create them and then record them. Everything tends to be a lot slower in this virtual setting. It takes more time. And so those were big changes. I think just the amount of personal growth that most everyone that I know made in terms of our understanding of technology. And then also, I think a positive was this opportunity for us to be really reflective about our practice in a way that we hadn't before. What are we doing? And how are we going to get the most essential things to our kids? What is it that they need that's most essential? Because with first grade, I have a very small amount of time with them in a face-to-face setting online that they're actually engaged and with me. And so my colleagues chose to do a whole group meeting, and then we did small group meetings all day long because we could much more easily keep together and connect with, 3 or 4 or 5 first graders than having 22 or 23 or 4 or 5 on the screen. But I think being able to reflect on our practice and really, it's a funny thing to watch yourself teach. We don't do that very often.
Yeah.
And so to watch those videos back, and so that was a positive for sure for me, was being able to then refine my practice based on what I saw and what I knew these kids needed.
I know, because we never tape record ourselves teaching. So now, for the first time ever, you could watch yourself teach, huh?
Yeah, and it's not a terribly comfortable thing to do. I think, at least in the beginning, it feels kind of awkward, right? Just kind of like the Zoom setting maybe, and we were doing through Google Classroom. But the more you do it, I mean, it's very valuable. And I think the state of California has new teachers, and they're in their credential programs, but also new practicing teachers that are in their program that they go through right after they are hired, do a lot of recording of themselves and watching those and reflecting back. So it's a powerful medium. And I think that was great. Everything changed. Assessment, some kids, certainly equity was an issue. Not everybody had the same tools or access to the same kinds of things. And I know our district worked really hard to make sure families had computers and hotspots, and every child had their own device. And there was an enormous effort that went into making all of this work. So, and then the amount of parental help, it varied greatly. And so now here I am. Last year I taught most of my year online. We came back, I was in a hybrid group. So we came back late February, finished up the year, either with part of our class at a time or then eventually our whole class, which was wonderful. But you're really forced to pare down to the most essential things. And it's very difficult to do anything in terms of learning until kids' basic needs are met. And it's not just, clearly, being hungry and housed, those are basic needs we're aware of, but kids need to feel a sense of connection to someone, to their teacher, to each other, to their school site. And that's part of that. Social emotional learning has really taken priority, so that we can make sure that they feel relaxed and available to learn. So that's one of our big focuses for this year, is being really mindful of that. We have some little guys who've never been in school. I have 9 kids in my class this year that have never been on a campus before. So it's a lot of training and helping them get comfortable with the idea of school. And then of course we're masked up. So that's a whole nother thing.
Oh yeah. Do you get cooperation with that?
I do. My littles, they're really good. Their masks break or they slip down, but I just remind them and they pull them right back up. I think the kids, surprisingly, have been super cooperative. They tend to be a little bit more flexible than some of us older people. But yeah, we all wear masks now. We've been doing it. I've been in the classroom since February, so used to doing it.
Yeah.
That's not been a problem.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Kim, what is your favorite part of teaching?
Gosh, there are so many things I love about it. I love being able to teach different age groups of kids. I've taught all grades, K through 6 in my career, and I've done a lot of staff development and coaching and up through grades K through 8. I think really it's just the people. I have such amazing colleagues, particularly in the Newhall School District. I've worked in multiple districts as I've lived in Northern California and on the East Coast before I came here. And this is a really, this is a group of people who are dedicated in a way that I've never seen, and really give everything that they can to the profession. And, I think it shows. I think our families are really happy. Our kids do really well. So I would say it's the people, it's connecting with the kids. I love working with emergent readers, because I watch them come to me with very little or no ability to read, and they leave reading. And for me, reading is one of my passions. And so it opens up a whole world for them that is new. But I love the trust that parents give, entrusting their children to me each year, and just the legacy that we leave. Right now, this is my 6th, I'm going to my 7th year here at Meadows, and I walk around campus now. So I've had at least, a group of kids in every grade level now. My very first class has moved on to middle school. And so, honestly, you're like a celebrity on campus. Hi, Mrs. Woodard, and it feels good to know that you made a difference. The flip side of that is we have to be so careful, because I'm sure we all have experiences we can remember where a teacher said something that really kind of pierced our hearts in a way that wasn't positive. And so we have a lot of power, but we have such an ability to do good. And so I think that's one of the things that I love most is, being able to do good with good people, people who want the best for their kids, not just this
Yeah.
district.
Yeah, I also taught I taught all the grades also, but had more of the kindergarten and first grade. And and I had the Spanish speaking kids, and many of them would come in knowing red. That's it. They didn't know the colors, the numbers, the letters, had never held a book in their hand, nothing. And to watch them go from that to being able to read sentences and do addition and subtraction, it was so spectacular, that enormous transformation. Like there's nothing like the beginning of school, such an incredible difference to go from not reading to reading. That's why I just really loved the lower grades. And I remember at night going to bed and dreaming about tomorrow's lesson and how we were going to learn about community helpers or how to plant a seed or dental health or something. And those silly things I would be dreaming about, how we were going to do the lesson tomorrow. And I really enjoyed it also.
I think for so many of us, teaching is different than other jobs because it's not something you ever walk away from. You've got little people who sit on your heart and your mind as you move through your day and into your evening. And we're always kind of thinking about how can we troubleshoot a situation, or how can we help do this, or how can we do something better? And it's one of the harder things about teaching too, because we don't often get much of a reprieve, and it is a difficult profession. I wish that the public had a better sense of what it's like. I think as a parent, we know individually how important it is for us to have just that right teacher for our children, for our child, or for our children. But I think the public perception is sometimes a mismatch with what exactly we're doing in the classroom and with individual kids, and how it can be really difficult. And it's in the time that I've been in education, the demands have changed dramatically. Kids have changed dramatically. They're wired so differently now with all of the technology that they're exposed to, and a lot of it's really great. And then there are some things too that make it more difficult. Their brains are used to this quick, right? And so we have to really teach in a way that speaks to how they're learning. Not that we always didn't do that, or that we didn't always have to do that, rather, but I think it's more difficult now. And so I'm really working to make sure that things are multisensory, and that engagement is just more difficult. But it's such I would never discourage someone from going into teaching. It's been so rewarding for me, and I love it, but it's a whole lot of work. It's really a lot of work, and there aren't a lot of boundaries. It's difficult to set boundaries, and there's absolutely no way you can do this job within your contractual day. Nobody does. Some teachers may pull out of the parking lot at 3 or 3:30, but then they're opening up their computers at night and working. It's just, that's one of the tricky things about the job, is navigating that, especially when your family's young. My family's all grown up, so it's a little easier for me.
Yeah, I know. Most of the families of my children were very appreciative, and they would always say, how do you have so much patience? And I'm like, hey, patience is only one of about 50 things you need for this. I'm not sure patience was really at the top of my list, but many people in the society are like, all you are is a glorified babysitter. And it's just so disheartening when they just don't understand how much education it takes, how much of our own money we spend buying the materials, because the district doesn't provide, maybe Newhall, but not the one I was in. I bought most of those materials out of my own money, spent my weekends working on things, took classes at night, worked until sunset most days. And but all the public sees is you're in the classroom at 8 a.m. and then they leave at 3, so you must leave at 3.
Summer's off, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I know. I think that having parents take responsibility for teaching their children at home during the pandemic certainly helped to open up people's eyes at the challenges that come with with working with students in an academic setting, and not all of our learners learn the same way. Not all of them are motivated by the same things. It's a very multifaceted job. And that's one of the things that makes it great. But again, some of the things that make it great make it really tough too. But we have learned to be flexible. Well, you can't be a good teacher and not be flexible. But in the pandemic, for sure, I always say to the kids, we learned we can do hard things. We for sure can do hard things. And I had a great year with my class last year, and I'm looking forward to a great year with this class. Right now, they are, like I said, 9 of them have never been in school before. We're doing a lot of just really basic kind of front loading them with the training of this is how we move through our day so that we can get that really solid, and then we'll be able to fly with the academics. But,
And will you have the same number of students this year as all the other years?
Actually, our numbers have gone up a little bit in Newhall. One of the things that the district, I have to say, they really listened to teachers when we said the split classes are really tough. They're tough on teachers, and they can be tough on kids depending on who the kids are. We're always very careful to hand select kids for the split combination grade classes to make sure we choose kids that are going to be able to feel stable and prepared for that setting, because they do need to be more independent. But it definitely makes it more difficult for the teacher. Go ahead.
And what you mean is by a split class when you have a 1-2 combination, right?
Exactly.
I've had that. And the worst combination is K1. That's a very hard one. So how are you guys managing?
Difficult. Well, that was something we really voiced to the district. There's so much discussion about learning loss and how we're going to combat that. And the teachers really felt strongly that if this is really a priority, then we need to really take a hard look at combination classes for this year, for sure. I think as teachers, we'd love to eliminate them altogether. And I'm sure the district would too. It's just not fiscally possible always. But they made it happen this year. And so consequently, our numbers have risen in our classes. So I actually have more kids than I ever have had in Newhall before. But it made it possible that we don't have any combination classes across the district. At least that's my understanding. We don't have any at my school. We typically have at least 2, usually 3. So that our numbers have gone up a little bit, but it means that we're all going to have a single grade to focus on. And that's important. I think it's really important.
Yeah, it's easier to manage a few more kids than to have to do double planning, huh?
Yeah. And it's beyond the planning, it's navigating the day with 2 completely different groups who have completely different sets of standards. I mean, there's a little bit of overlap depending on your grade, but for the most part, they have content that they need to master at their own level. And so you have one group working independently while you're busy working with this group. And so this year, every child will have a teacher that's singly focused on their grade, and then we can, continue to differentiate within our own grade for what kids need. So provide specific things that kids need, whether they're below, at, or above grade level.
Yes, I hear you. You've got to have the first graders working independently while you attend to the second graders, but they don't know how to do their work. They need help. They're, poking their partner, and a lot of learning time is lost that way. And you can only give them 50% of the time that they need. So I totally understand that. But does that mean some classrooms have fewer kids while others have more, so that the numbers even out? So you got
I don't think so. I think we all have probably about the same or more. So for example, in my grade level, we all have about 25. Typically we'll run closer to 22, 21, sometimes even 20. So instead we've taken that half a class and split that would be in a combination and split it over the grade level, the 4 teachers. And so we all now have 25, but no K1 or no 1-2 split.
Yeah.
So yeah, we don't have any really small classes that I'm aware of. Some are just a little bit bigger.
Yeah.
So.
Well, Newhall has pretty small classes, because when I taught school, I had 32 to 36 kids.
Yeah,
and on my the worst time ever, I had 39. But
when No Child Left Behind came around, some decades ago, they brought the class sizes down in primary to 20. And that made a tremendous difference for the teachers in terms of being able to really differentiate and help kids with what their individual needs were and are. So that has sustained. We've kept those low class sizes, and it's great. I mean, I will say even 25 is, I'm finding to be challenging right now because they're so little and they're learning about school. I haven't benefited from my great kinder team that totally has them ready before they come to me, right? With all the school, like how to line up. Like we're literally learning all of those things right now. But I think that 25 is manageable. When I was first teaching primary, we were up at 32 and upper grade was 36. That's tricky just because of the bodies in the room, right? Kids don't sit in rows anymore. This is no longer an educational experience where the teacher is the expert and the children are little vessels, and they sit in nice tidy rows and don't move, and we fill them with information. This is a really dynamic classroom now. The kids are up, they're down, they're moving, working with partners, with small groups. Even at the kindergarten level, this discourse is really an important part of what they're learning. These are all, things that are going, getting them, it's putting them on that trajectory for the college and career readiness. And so when I started teaching in 1989, that wasn't the case. Things were much more controlled. And, you could pack your classroom because no one was moving anywhere. They sat in their desks all day. And that's not the case anymore. So,
Yeah. Wow. Well, a lot has changed in this many years, and it's been really great talking with you. And I hope that our listeners will, make it to the end of this interview because you have so many great things to share. And I appreciate you taking the time out to do this interview.
Thanks for asking me, Kathy. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, I want to remind everybody that this has been Catherine Williams, your local Santa Clarita Realtor, with Kim Woodard, a teacher with the Newhall School District. Great talking with you, Kim.
Thanks so much.
Bye.
Bye-bye.